the 7 deadly sins of data-driven marketing. And we start with using only data that makes us feel good. Pride, gluttony, collecting data without insights, just piling it up, making a data landfill. Dismissing data that challenges what we think. Oh, I was just working on that. That is actually the biggest problem in modeling today. What are the outliers? Are they meaningful? How do you know? Great questions, right? That's wrath. Lust, believing in data without question. Greed, hoarding data from other departments. Envy, biasing data to get the results we want. Yeah, that's an easy thing to do even by accident. And sloth, ignoring data and just going with our gut. Okay, so here he goes. My cartoons are often inspired by something I overheard at the previous week. Last week I traveled to GPEC Summit in Romania. I've always wanted to go to Romania. I've heard it's really a wonderful place. And I got to hear unmarketing author Scott Stratton's entertaining take on marketing while I was there. So he says he basically gave a rant on vanity metrics, the seductive allure of focusing on data that makes us look good. Vanity metrics are particularly rampant in digital marketing and can cause us to make really bad decisions. The term vanity metrics was first coined by Eric Ries in The Lean Startup. As Eric put it, vanity metrics may make you feel good, but they don't offer clear guidance for what to do next. And of course, all data is historical, so that will never give you guidance in what to do next. Never. It's always a look at the past. Now, a look at the past is about the best we can do, so it's not like it's terrible. But just keep that in mind. All data. Don't care what anybody says about real-time data. No such thing. It's all in the past. It's all in the past. And tomorrow will be just like yesterday, except if it isn't. Right? Okay. The idea of vanity metrics got me thinking about the 7 deadly sins and how they might apply in this increasingly data-driven world. It's a fallacy. Data is never just about data. It's about how we use and make sense of the data. How we interpret the data is subject to the same human biases and foibles that drive everything else we do. Of course, AI promises to help with the data-driven decision making, and yet AI is fueled by many of these same biases and foibles. It's worse because it adds it up without thinking. It's a derivative. It's a second-order derivative. Very dangerous. As we look at the data, we have to continuously sense check where it came from and how we're using it. Here are a few related cartoons. Our new dashboard has all the different KPIs we can now track. What's that KPI trending towards 0? This one here. It measures how well we understand them all. Amen to that. Okay, let's solve this problem by using the big data none of us has the slightest idea what to do with. Okay, the marketing dashboard 2018, vanity metrics that have nothing to do with sales. A graph that doesn't match any other department's numbers. A chart that hasn't been updated lately. A really pretty map. Maps are tricky. No idea what this is or what to do with it. Okay, and our marketing program is clearly successful as shown by this graph of how awesome I think it is. Yeah, okay, and here. We found this correlation in the data. Everyone take out a razor. And this is a graph, for example, the number of public school students in first grade correlates with the number of insurance claim adjusters in Illinois. There you go, right? And they can even generate an AI image. Here it shows first graders and they're doing finger painting on school property and raising the number of insurance claims, which means we need more claims adjusters. There's another one in here. Here's one, how insightful oversimplified YouTube video titles are. And of course, there's like average insightfulness of YouTube titles plus inches of snow in Chicago. And there's a possible explanation. And here's a scatter plot of it. Okay, and this is my favorite in this set. But you can correlate with any. I mean, you can pick the two you want, or what correlates with one that you really like. Butter consumption correlates with the number of epidemiologists in Colorado. There you go. And the R value is 920, right? R squared is 847.847. That's like incredible. That's like whoosh, you know, straight line, man, super correlated. Why this works. He has 25,000 variables in his database, and randomly matching them up, that gives him 636 million correlations. It's called data dredging, okay? And he doesn't worry about causality. He doesn't worry that observations are not independent, which they are almost never. The y-axes don't start at 0. He just takes the directional. And often there's a confounding variable that influences both, like global pandemics might cause two variables to look connected when in fact there's a sneaky third. Some data sets have outliers which drag up the correlation. I intentionally mishandle outliers, which makes the correlation look extra strong. And there are not very many data points in most of these pieces of data. So that's why it works. But the bottom line on the whole thing is that if you had just the digits of pi and you took two data sets of the digits of pi, or a digits of pi and random numbers, and you just said find the correlations, you could find long strings of the same series of numbers. If you go out to 16 gig of digits or whatever they're at now, you find long strings, not because it means anything, but because with enough data you'll get wonderful, wonderful matches. And that's the problem we have today. So why is data driven a mistake or a misnomer? 1, all data is historical. 2, spurious correlations. And the more data you have, the more certain it is. I wanted to just touch on an article that I wrote. Our agency said that if we want our brand to appeal to millennials, our message has to be authentic. Okay? And so this is an article I wrote back in the aughts, and it says, understanding your customers, marketing posts are loaded with the benefits of better understanding your customers, which does not necessarily mean that you will sell more. You know, Bob Meyer's brother was in sales, and he would talk to customers more and more and ask them questions more and more and find out what they wanted. And they were ready to buy, and then he'd keep talking and keep asking them more questions until they weren't ready to buy anymore and decided they better go seek more information because they weren't quite sure. It's possible to know too much. The best salespeople I know didn't know that much about their product. They knew how to sell it, and that sometimes is better. Think about that, okay? Rarely, and so these articles promote data. Rarely is much detail offered, especially about how many or what kinds of customer variables are most beneficial. You know, we used to throw around about 400 or 500 variables, and most of them were completely worthless. And even with that many, you never quite had the ones you really wanted, right? I remember one client who sold baseball products said, maybe we should rent SUV owners because all the women who are driving their kids to baseball practice have these big SUVs. I said, yes, but not all SUV owners have little kids going to Little League. Yeah, he said, you're probably right about that. And that is part of the problem. Plus, there's like an infinite number of variables we could be calculating. And I have another article out on LinkedIn and on my website, I'm sure, called the werewolf variable. And that was a variable. I did a talk on variables once at the DMA, I think. And I was trying to think of a variable that everyone could understand, but no one would have ever built. And so I cooked this one up, and eventually someone goaded me into Travis Seaton, I think it was, into building it, and we applied it at Musician's Friend. And it was not easy. It was not as easy as I expected. You had to use a table-driven full moon chart, and we figured we'll just look on either side of the full moon. Oh, I didn't explain what the variable is. Yeah, it's it's whether you buy during the full moon, whether you're a full moon buyer or a not full moon buyer. So we took 48 hours around the full moon. You have to pick your time zone and all sorts of other things. But anyway, we managed to calculate, we create a 2-day window that we called the full moon window. And all things being equal, in other words, if the variable is meaningless, then it shouldn't have any, then there should be about a 15th of the sales should come in during that period, and that's what we found with the Musician's Friend. We found a 15th of the month, two days is about a 15th of the month, and we found about that exact 15th of the sales in there. But then, for some reason, this is how come you need a wizard. For some reason, I said, well, how many customers are in there? And what we found was that there was only about a 30th of our customers were in that window that regularly bought there. And it turned out that the customers that bought at the full moon, there weren't as many of them, but they spent twice as much money, which is why it equaled out. That's the kind of anomaly that can make you money nowadays with instant marketing, right? You could promote specially to the full moon buyers, have specials, full moon specials, and increase your average order size dramatically. Or we could at least do a heck of a test with that, right? Sadly, Musician's Friend quit testing rigorously, and that's because we had beaten 8 or 10 modeling companies around the world, and the last one they just said, oh, we'll do a back test. And a back test is actually a spurious way to test models. What it does is it takes out it leaves in all of the spurious correlations, which gives you a great theoretical performance. And what we always did was knock those out because they don't work in the real world. They're spurious, they're ridiculous, they're silly. But AI doesn't knock out the silly ones necessarily. Anyway, so this article goes on to say that I'm interested in the variable that is in the modeler. After decades of success in modeling, I've run across my share of defeats. Thankfully, most of those were handed to other modelers. There was a simple pattern in most of them. We beat them because we built more variables, did more models, and validations. I guess we outworked them, which brings me to perhaps the most important variable missing in most marketing databases, and that's integrity. Integrity basically means doing what you say, but in modeling, it's so easy to stop with good enough, especially now when AI does all the work, right? It's so easy to pack up at 5 p.m. and hope it works fine. And tonight we'll be working through the night on a complex triple model. We found out yesterday that our client misspecified the deadline. It's due tomorrow, not a week from tomorrow. Believe me, it's very easy to tell yourself this is good enough. But we follow our regular procedures, which means probably 24 variables, account review, finally 3 separate polls. Most importantly, we will continue to look for interesting connections and ways to make our clients' projects more successful. If you'd like some more interesting ideas about data that I think is kind of timeless, I have to say, I highly recommend my book, Spinning Straw into Gold, an executive guide to the magic of turning data into money. There's very few people that actually have turned data into money. It's not trivial. This is a very simple book, very quick, very easy read. It's available on Amazon. I have, I don't know, 5 maybe in a box back there. If you'd like a signed copy, be happy to do it. You got to send me a 20, like on Venmo or something. And just, send me an email, john@wdma.org, and we will keep in touch. Anyway, that said, have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know